the Temple Mount in Old Jerusalem, ground zero of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. New biblical insight and a special tour of this sacred place begins right now on Jewish Voice with Jonathan Bernis.
Shalom and welcome to Jewish Voice, where we help you to discover the Jewish roots of your Christian faith. I'm Jonathan Bernis. Jerusalem is the holiest site of two religions, Judaism and Christianity, and next to Mecca, Islam as well. At the center of this ancient city is the Temple Mount. It's probably the most contested piece of real estate in the entire world. It's also at the center of last days Bible prophecy. Is the temple going to be rebuilt? Has it already been started? Where will it be built? And is the Temple Mount even the correct location of the ancient temple? And then finally, is the Antichrist involved yet in the project? And if he is, who is he? With us today is one of the foremost experts on this topic. Please welcome to Jewish Voice, my good friend, Dr. Randall Price. Randall, welcome back, my friend. I was just thinking about how long it's been since you've been with us. It's been a number of years. Took over Jewish Voice 18 years ago, and you were one of the early guests. You've been coming periodically since I came to this minister. Now, were you on the program before I came?
No, I wasn't.
So, well, I'm glad that you were one of my discoveries, and I see you on many other programs. I see your books all over Israel, and I just appreciate you so much because you don't deal with sensationalist topics in a sensationalist way, and that really fits who we are at Jewish Voice. So it's great to see you again, my friend. Now, how do you get interested not only in the temple specifically, but in Bible prophecy and archaeology specifically?
I went through seminary, and after seminary I said, I cannot talk about this place called Israel the rest of my life if I'm going to be a pastor and not having seen it. So I moved my family to Jerusalem, went to the Hebrew University, and there everything really came together.
I was thinking a tour or something, but
No.
You actually picked up the family and studied in the most prestigious university in Israel and one of the most
That's
in the
right.
world.
But going out in classes into the field and seeing the ruins of the past, which gave, of course, confirmation to the things we read about in the Bible, and then meeting the Jewish people and being a part of what they were experiencing each day, something came alive in me.
So many Christians, they've embraced the gospel, they've been born again, they love the Lord, and Israel's an irrelevant issue for them. Why is it so relevant and so important?
Well, it depends on how you read the Bible. If you read it as it was given, you can't miss Israel. It's at the center of everything. If you skip around and do what you want to with it, you might be able to conveniently miss Israel in that focus. But God doesn't want us to do that. Israel is at the center of things because it's through Israel the rest of the world will be blessed. And so as I came to understand that, it just opened my eyes to all of Scripture. In other words, everything that God promised, He'll be performing through the Jewish people, in the Jewish nation, through a Jewish Messiah.
Wow.
If you don't understand
that's
then
huge.
you miss it. Yeah.
That's huge because that is so contrary to the worldview of so many Christians and so many scholars.
Yes.
Literally, you're taking the Bible literally. Israel matters.
Yes. When you start reading the Bible other than a literal way, you can do all kinds of things with it. You can replace Israel with the church. You can replace Jews with those who are spiritual people who believe in Jesus. You can simply say that their history ended when the temple was destroyed. And you don't see anything beyond that. You see it all being fulfilled in a different way with the different people. And yet, as you read the text from the beginning, you say it's impossible to do that. God can't change His mind. He can't change His purpose. He says day and night, sun and moon and stars, all that cannot change. And He said that to Israel at a time when it was in disobedience, when the temple was being destroyed, Jerusalem was being destroyed, and they were going into exile. And so He said, I'll never change this purpose. It's unconditional. The Jewish people are here to stay, and Israel is the place where all of his word will be fulfilled.
Well, I want you to focus again on the here and now, because certainly no one would deny that Israel and the Jewish people brought the Messiah. They were, as Paul lays out the list in Romans, responsible for the giving of the law and the patriarchs and on and on. But I want you to share what you did again about the relevance of Israel in the now. You made the statement that everything that's yet to happen will happen in Israel and through the Jewish people.
I think the scriptures, this is the Old Testament scriptures called the Tanakh, explain that God would one day bring Israel back to the land. Now, there's an ultimate return in which they will come to faith and there will be a glorious redemption for the whole nation. But it also says there'll be a return to the land in unbelief, that he will bring them back. There will be difficulty and hardship. And of course, that's still part of the discipline God has upon his people for their national rejection of Yeshua. And so when we look at Israel today, we see the Jewish people firmly in place where they should be. We also see a nation struggling for survival, enemies on every side. That's also what was predicted. Ultimately, we hear about a battle of Gog and Magog, an end-time invasion of the nation of Israel by enemies which we can identify today, which surround Israel.
We're going to talk about that more later on. How about the focus on the temple, the rebuilding of the temple? So you went to Israel. That all came alive for you. You've been bringing groups every year. Why the focus on the temple?
Well, it wasn't a focus I originally had. I was there in 1987 when there was an announcement made that a certain group called the Temple of Mount Faithful would be going down and laying a cornerstone and things like this for the third temple. And I thought, this is quite interesting. I want to be a part of that. So I found the group and I joined them as they went down to the Pool of Siloam and anointed a cornerstone and did things like this. And people were dressed in priestly garments. And I said, this is very odd. I've never seen this. It's something new in history. And as I began to talk with them and analyze the movement itself, I realized this is the first time there's been a desire to see prophecy fulfilled. And they said the only way prophecy can be fulfilled is when the temple exists once again. So I started searching in the scriptures, both the Old and New Testament, and I said that's exactly the case. Everything we see with Messiah's return, the blessing for the nations, all of the sanctity of life in the future age will all be because the temple exists once again. So while I may not agree with them and their motives and their methods today, it is a part of Scripture, and that's why it's important.
We have to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to ask Dr. Price the question, is the temple being rebuilt today, just ahead? And then later, you'll get a first-hand look at one of our medical outreach clinics in Ethiopia, where many of the patients are seeing a doctor for the very first time in their lives. And just as important, they're learning about Yeshua, about Jesus. Stay with us.
Call now to order your copy of The Virtual Tour of the Temple. This simple-to-use DVD software program will help you discover the mystery of the Temple Mount, the holiest ground on earth. Find out how this sacred location fits into Bible prophecy and may signal the return of the Messiah. This DVD software program is like no other, revealing in a 360-degree view that allows you to interactively explore over 100 breathtaking panoramas at this amazing biblical site. You'll be given a rare full-color guided tour by renowned archeologist Dr. Randall Price, so you can experience the ancient temple as if you're really there. And this user-friendly software works with Mac or PC. Dr. Price secretly captured this astonishing undercover footage using high-resolution cameras, and he shares his expert insights into the temple's past, present, and future.
You can virtually tour that site itself.
We also want you to have Still Ready to Rebuild, a riveting DVD that uncovers plans to rebuild the temple. What is going on today on the Temple Mount that will shock the world? What is the media covering up? And how do these events connect to a coming Antichrist? And finally, we'll also include Is Peace Possible?, an insightful book by Rabbi Jonathan Bernis. This book will help you understand the Middle East at this crucial time in history. Is Peace Possible? Will guide you as you learn key steps to bless the land and people of Israel.
I want you to understand end-time prophecy. I want you to understand the role of Israel in the rebuilding of the temple and how that all fits into what's ahead.
Your gifts of support will also help Jewish communities worldwide who suffer from poverty, disease, and despair. For them, hope remains out of sight. You can be that hope by partnering with Jewish Voice to help improve the lives of those living in Jewish communities and their neighbors in dire need. By supporting the work of Jewish Voice, you enable us to provide crucial medical, dental, and eye care. More importantly, you're helping us share the good news of Yeshua with scattered Jewish tribes throughout the world. Anything you can do will make a difference in their lives. Remember, God has promised to bless those who bless the Jewish people. Call the number on your screen now to bless the Jewish people. You can also click or write with your gift of support by going to our website, jvmi.tv, or writing to us at Jewish Voice, Post Office Box 6, Phoenix, Arizona, 85001. Please specify offer 1270 when giving $77 or more to receive your gifts. Call, click, or write.
Welcome back. My guest is Dr. Randall Price. He's an expert on Israel and the Middle East and Bible prophecy in general. I asked before the break, is the temple, first of all, is it going to be rebuilt? Are we certain of that?
We're certain of that as we're certain of the Scriptures, because we have statements filling the Old Testament that talk about not just the temple being destroyed in the past, but being rebuilt in the time of the Second Temple, but the statements about a third temple being built. 9 chapters of the book of Ezekiel, chapters 40 through 48, detail that future temple, exactly how the plans, the blueprints should be, the functions of all the priests. When we come to the New Covenant, mentioned in Jeremiah 31, there it tells us, as we move over to chapter 33, still part of the New Covenant, that a temple will exist, there'll be priests, there'll even be sacrifices. So all these things are part of the New Covenant, not the Old.
Well, I want to get a report from you on what's been happening since the last time you were here towards rebuilding a temple, and if it's actually been started. We want to look at a couple of pictures that I want you to explain to us. So let's put the first one up. And okay, so what are we seeing here?
Well, we're looking at some of the more recent attempts to create a priesthood. You can see people wearing priestly garments. Probably 20 years ago, they began to establish some priestly schools to train those who were of the Kohanim, of the Leviim, to do the function of a priest. Now, there's no temple for them to perform that in, but they said we need to get ready for that. And so today we have the priest. One of the pictures shows them doing sacrificial offerings. Cannot do it on the Temple Mount, but can do it in the vicinity of the Temple Mount. And again, it's taken them the training, the education to do everything exactly as the Scriptures had said.
So it's more than just rebuilding the temple. There's a whole list of things that have to be reestablished.
Well, the first of those is they have to have the ashes of the red heifer. That today there's a red heifer that they're trying to raise in Israel because it can't have had a yoke on it, it can't have a blemish on it. So transporting such an animal from someplace else would probably result in that. Now, so it has to be born in the land of Israel.
Mixed reports. I heard at one time they had actually produced a perfect red heifer, and then they found a hair, a white hair, and then that was scrapped. Where are we now?
In fact, more than once. Most recent one was in New Jersey, and the problem is that for one reason or another, it's not a pure red heifer. As it grows older, it can sprout white hairs, and therefore it's not qualified according to the Scriptures. And then again, it has to be in the land of Israel, because where the ceremony for the red heifer takes place. So this is considered essential by the temple movement organizations, because they say we have to have those ashes to purify the priest as well who would build the temple, be involved in the building, as well as the location itself.
Now, we'll talk more about this over the week, but let's go back to the Temple Mount itself. I think we have a picture. What is the Temple Mount?
Well, the Temple Mount today is a 35-acre platform. That platform includes two Islamic buildings, one called the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the other called the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock was built in 691 A.D. Abd al-Malik bin Wan, who was the successor caliph to Caliph Omar, who had originally conquered Jerusalem, erected this, but he built it in a octagonal form, just like the Byzantine Empire that he was a part of. He conquered that, but he had no real architecture for the nomadic Muslims, and so he picked up Christian architecture to reproduce the building. Now, originally inside that gold dome were statements that said, God is one and has no son, this kind of thing, because they wanted to deter any of the Muslim population from falling away and embracing Christianity, because they saw all these magnificent buildings that had been existing for hundreds of years that Roman Christianity had erected. And so this was mainly a rival to those buildings to say, we have it too, and here's the proper way to be thinking.
Randall, talk about the specific location of the Dome of the Rock that we just saw.
Well, it sits in the center of the platform, and what we know from history, the patriarch Sophronos had met Omar. Omar was looking for the site of David's temple. He had confusion there. David, Solomon are considered important for Judaism, not Herod, but it's also essential for Islam. And so that's what he was looking for, and the patriarch showed him the site where the ruins of the temple were. But it was covered with dung because they carried refuse.
Specifically, what we would refer to as the Holy of Holies? Well,
that's where the temple would have stood in the ancient times. Holy of Holies would have been the farthest part of that three-roomed building. And so where the dome is today, the rock within it is probably the place where the Holy of Holies was.
So you believe that it's actually built on what was the Holy of Holies in Solomon's temple?
And in, of course, the Second Temple as well. Do that on the basis, although no archaeology can take place there, the Muslims themselves have done construction projects that revealed archaeological remains. And that plus a new project, now 10 years old, called the Temple Mount Sifting Project, took debris that the Muslims had unearthed on the Temple Mount as they made a new mosque at the southern part of that, and dumped almost 20,000 tons of archaeological debris in the valleys. The Israelis were able to reclaim some of that, and now in 10 years of sifting, they've had 1,000 discoveries, coins with Holy Jerusalem in Hebrew on it, many types of fragments of things that were part of the ancient temple described in the ancient books.
I wanted to talk about the argument that this was not the original site of the temple. We have to come back and do that tomorrow, but I don't want to leave viewers hanging without asking the question, is the temple in process of being rebuilt today, the third temple?
If we think of the things necessary to make that temple work, that is the implements and the various utensils and vessels, yes, because those have been constructed over the last 20-something years and are ready for the actual building. So in part, the temple exists in these elements that are going to be a part of its function.
So there are plans underway. There's a restoration of, or an attempt certainly, for the red heifer. Many of the artifacts, the institution of the correct clothing, and a movement, which we'll focus on more tomorrow. Randall has brought some incredible resources that we want to make available to you. We'll tell you how to get them in just a moment. One is a virtual tour of the temple, absolutely stunning. And these are gifts that we want to sow into your life to not to just say thank you for helping us as we reach out to Jewish people in need, but we want to bring you into greater understanding of the Jewish roots of your faith and the relevance of Israel. And this is one way we do that. Dr. Price will be back tomorrow with us, so you don't want to miss it. Now, what you're about to see next will grab your heart. It's the very essence of what Jewish Voice is all about. It's about helping Jewish people and their neighbors in some of the most remote places on earth. This video clip is from our recent clinic in a small village in Ethiopia called Tash Gaint. It's amazing. Watch.
Shalom, I'm Ezra from Jewish Voice, and I want to welcome you to rural northern Ethiopia, the city of Tash Gaint, where we're about to start about an hour and a half from now, our first ever Jewish Voice medical outreach here. Behind me, what you see are literally over 1,000 people who by word of mouth heard about this clinic opening this morning, this Sunday morning, and have queued up since 7 a.m., 5 hours and 10 minutes ago, just to see a doctor.
The impact here, both medically and spiritually, has been really incredible.
It's just crazy, just a primitive way just to see these people, but how blessed they are to come through and to be touched by the ministry of Jewish Voice. And what an honor to be a part of it.
This may be the only time this year, or maybe in their lifetime, that they have the opportunity to receive the treatment they need for free, paid for by those like you who love and want to be a blessing to the Jewish people and their neighbors.
As I think of one story of a young boy who had received trauma to his eye and probably would never have received care. And somehow they heard that there was an outreach here, and they found our team, and we were able to treat him surgically and restore that eye.
Think about tooth pain, mouth pain that you would have to live with every day for months or years without the ability to see a dentist, either because there isn't a dentist in your community or just because you can't afford to see one. So we're thrilled this week to provide this much needed relief in Yeshua's name.
You know, I could see the pictures and the little pamphlets and the updates Jonathan Burness gives us, but to grasp the magnitude of this, I didn't have an appreciation for that.
You see Yeshua's ministry here happening. I mean, people are sick. They've got disease-filled feet, eyes with disease, cataracts, and they're being medically treated and supernaturally healed by Jewish people from Israel, by Jewish people from the U.S., ministering to Jewish people at the ends of the earth.
It's really been evident that if Jewish Voice wasn't here, many of these people would not receive the care that they're receiving now. There just are very few options for people in this region. And we know and we trust that there is a greater plan here, and that's why we're here. And so what a privilege to be a part of it.
I don't think life gets any better than this. This is what we were made to do. So thank you, Jewish Voice, for making this possible.
One of the most rewarding things in our field, and it really has spiritual implications as well, is that somebody can walk up to us completely blind and within hours be seeing again for the first time. And so in a dramatic way, we often will see an elderly person who hasn't seen their loved one or their grandchild in a decade, and overnight we take off the patch, they can see, and there's much rejoicing. And it's an opportunity for us to really share what true vision is and who the true light is, Jesus Christ, Yeshua.
We're thrilled that these people are coming in pain, and they're going to leave without it, knowing that they're loved and blessed.
Call now to order your copy of The Virtual Tour of the Temple. This simple-to-use DVD software program will help you discover the mystery of the Temple Mount, the holiest ground on earth. Find out how this sacred location fits into Bible prophecy and may signal the return of the Messiah. This DVD software program is like no other, revealing in a 360-degree view that allows you to interactively explore over 100 breathtaking panoramas at this amazing biblical site. You'll be given a rare full-color guided tour by renowned archaeologist Dr. Randall Price, so you can experience the ancient temple as if you're really there. And this user-friendly software works with Mac or PC. Dr. Price secretly captured this astonishing undercover footage using high-resolution cameras, and he shares his expert insights into the temple's past, present, and future.
You can virtually tour that site itself.
We also want you to have Still Ready to Rebuild, a riveting DVD that uncovers plans to rebuild the temple. What is going on today on the Temple Mount that will shock the world? What is the media covering up? And how do these events connect to a coming Antichrist? And finally, we'll also include Is Peace Possible?, an insightful book by Rabbi Jonathan Bernis. This book will help you understand the Middle East at this crucial time in history. Is Peace Possible? Will guide you as you learn key steps to bless the land and people of Israel.
I want you to understand end-time prophecy. I want you to understand the role of Israel in the rebuilding of the temple and how that all fits into what's ahead.
Your gifts of support will also help Jewish communities worldwide who suffer from poverty, disease, and despair. For them, hope remains out of sight. You can be that hope by partnering with Jewish Voice to help improve the lives of those living in Jewish communities and their neighbors in dire need. By supporting the work of Jewish Voice, you enable us to provide crucial medical, dental, and eye care. More importantly, you're helping us share the good news of Yeshua with scattered Jewish tribes throughout the world. Anything you can do will make a difference in their lives. Remember, God has promised to bless those who bless the Jewish people. Call the number on your screen now to bless the Jewish people. You can also click or write with your gift of support by going to our website, jvmi.tv, or writing to us at Jewish Voice, Post Office Box 6, Phoenix, Arizona, 85001. Please specify offer 1270 when giving $77 or more to receive your gifts. Call, click, or write.
Jewish Voice is about helping people in need. It's about providing medical care and saving lives, but most importantly, it's about saving souls. We've helped tens of thousands, but it's nothing compared to the countless millions we've yet to reach. We need to do more. We need you. There's no time to waste, so anything that you can do will make a difference. So please, pick up the phone and call today. Well, we're out of time, but before I go, I want to remind you that Psalm 122:6 tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love thee. So if you want to prosper, pray for Israel and the Jewish people. Please join us again tomorrow as we continue our discussion with Dr. Randall Price.
Jews consider it the holiest of places, Israel's Temple Mount, a source of conflict in the Middle East for centuries. Now an expert on the temple is sharing new insights into the past, present, and future. Next time on Jewish Voice with Jonathan Bernis.